Thank you for joining us. First tonight, to claims that footballers as young as 7 are facing increased levels of racist abuse, and that Home Secretary Suella Braverman is at least in part to blame.
The founder of Alpha United Juniors FC in Bradford says the language used by the government around asylum seekers, particularly terms such as invasion, is heightening tensions, and that's being reflected on local pitches and on touchlines.
Mohammed Waheed also wrote to Prince William about the issue of racism in football, who agreed it was abhorrent. And when asked for a comment about Suella Braverman's language, the Home Office told Calendar it's using every tool at its disposal to deter illegal migration. Adam Fowler reports.
The first football practice after Ramadan for this amateur club in Bradford. But children as young as 7 years old have been subjected to racism at matches, and it's a constant worry for organisers.
It's been from players on the pitch. We've even had a referee actually give us some racism as well in the past. Fans on the sidelines and even coaches just in the last month or so we've experienced that alone, and this has been going on for 10 years now. And we've gone through all the reporting channels, you know, the way it should be done, but we've had zero to no success at all. With one reason after another given of why they can't be charged.
We often get youngsters at the end of matches asking questions, why were we spoken to like this? And one particular example that springs to mind is I saw one of our junior referees being constantly shouted abuse at during a match, and it was quite upsetting to see.
Earlier this year, Mohammed wrote to Kensington Palace about the problem, following what he sees as a lack of action by the FA. And Prince William responded, describing racist behaviour as abhorrent and saying he'd raised the issue with the FA.
The invasion on our southern coast.
The Home Secretary has been criticised many times for what some see as inflammatory language describing asylum seekers. And according to Mohammed, it's led to an increase in racist abuse being suffered by players.
Most definitely it's got worse. When you're using words like invasion, they're coming from these countries, and as you look around, there's BME backgrounds, you know, these families are from those countries. They legally have the right to be here, but because there's that narrative of all these invasion of these people, they just paint it with the same brush, and that's what it is, go back to your homeland, etc, etc. And that's the stuff that we hear on sidelines still to this day, and we've seen that kind of step up in the last 18 months or so.
A spokesperson for the Home Office says the public rightly expects us to control immigration at a time when the number of people arriving in the UK via small boats has reached record levels, placing pressure on the asylum system and stretching our capacity to support those in need.
We know that when the rhetoric from the top is so disgraceful and it needs calling out, that has actual real-time impact and real consequences for people, you know, in communities. And what Alpha United has demonstrated, and their experience demonstrates that Suella Braverman's comments have had consequences for them.
Not just, again, from the way that government officials have been conducting themselves recently, but across the board within Britain, we're finding more overt forms of racism or racial abuse or conscious, some people want to call it conscious or unconscious bias, however you want to define it. It's definitely more overt within Britain in this current climate, and we're finding the exact same correlation between that within grassroots football.
The West Riding FA says it's observing a match this weekend, and it always takes allegations of racism extremely seriously. With these young players having to endure it at such an early age, the beautiful game comes along with a very ugly reality. Adam Fowler, ITV News, Bradford.